I was in the middle of making a No Man's Sky new player guide, and out of nowhere, there was a new update, and it gave us this. This is the new Corvette that you can actually build in-game as part of the new Voyager update. And on top of that, you can now walk inside the ship as it's flying and even exit out into space and EVA around. Now, this is absolutely insane for No Man's Sky. This has been something that's been on the wish list for a lot of players for a long time, and kind of shows up a number of other games. And this whole customization system, well, it's all really reminiscent of Starfield. It looks like No Man's Sky is trying to edge on into the Starfield/Star Citizen territory. And you know what? I think they're doing a pretty good job. So let me show you guys a little bit of what's cool about this update. I'm not gonna go too much into the expedition. I haven't had time for it yet, but I wanted to get this out to you guys because it is absolutely an update worth checking out. So here's how it all works. If you load up into No Man's Sky right now, you can actually start building your own Corvette, and all it takes is for you to go to a space station and find these little pads, these 4 pads on the side of the hangar, which will take you to a new larger section of the space station's interior. This is the Corvette workshop, and here you can start purchasing the modules that you need to build a basic Corvette. Now the game is going to give you a bunch of basic pieces that are kind of expensive, but if you've been playing for a while, you're going to probably have the cash built up. And you're going to buy a bunch of the basic pieces, so like landing gear, cockpits, the body of the craft. If you've played Starfield, you know exactly what this system is like. Once you've got your pieces, you just throw them down onto the floor's workshop, starting with the landing gear, of course, and then placing everything on top of that. Again, starting off, you're only going to have some really basic stuff, and as far as I can tell, the way the interior works is more automated, so you connect these modules, again, like Starfield, and it will automatically generate an interior. But that interior can be customized. We'll go into that in a second. Now, I actually think that they did this better than Starfield, and the reason is because you can actually overlap a lot of these parts and start to create some really interesting shapes out of things that seem really basic at first. For example, here I had some nice aesthetic pieces that I wanted to put on the top of the ship, but it didn't really go with the length, so I took 2 starting pieces and I overlapped them to create what looks like a single long piece on the top. You can see how that works there, and it looks so good. And I just know that this community is gonna come up with some incredible combinations with all this overlapping going on. I've seen the bases people put together. This is gonna unlock a whole nother section of just creative time sink. I know it's gonna do that for me. Oh boy, I got so much to do right now, and now this comes out. Now you might be curious about how the modules work for this. Basically, you can take Starship modules from any other small ship that we've already had in the game and attach it to this. Although the things that you attach to this ship, just like it does in Starfield, will affect the ship's mass and maneuverability and range. So if you add too much stuff, it'll get too heavy and won't be as good as you might have hoped. So you're gonna have to play with the balance of the ship and with what modules you attach. Now, some of the actual aesthetic modules, like the engine components or the reactors, actually do have stats attached to them, and so you're going to want to search out some of the more rare components in the universe and attach them to the ship. Now, how do you find these? Well, it does tell you pretty much right away after you build your first Corvette that you need to go and find planets that have salvageable scrap on them. They're going to be contained in these containers that you break open and find on surfaces, and each one's going to give you a random component that's rarer than what you find in the space stations. But luckily, it's not all RNG. Once you get enough pieces, especially pieces of value, so say like reactors or shield components, you can actually go to one of the space stations and try to barter for things that you want. So say if you want 2 engine pods of the same type, the same style, you can go to barter for it by throwing some things of kind of equal value. It seems to kind of be give and take. I'm not sure exactly what the value system on this is. Maybe it's just random and per station. I'm not sure. I wish there was a little bit more information about the trading system in game to allow me to figure this out a little bit better. This is how much I've figured out so far. The other thing they're gonna probably need to do, and this is probably just a quality of life fix they're gonna have to update, is that you can't break down the groups of components from the trade menu. So if you want to barter for something, it's automatically gonna take whatever's been grouped together. So say you've got 3 of the same component, it's gonna trade that in, and maybe you don't wanna do that. So you have to separate them first in your inventory and then trade them as single pieces or groups depending on how much you wanna put together. There's also a bug right now with this update, or maybe it's just an oversight in the game design, but sometimes when you're in this build menu, you will go into free place mode, but there's no option to go out of it within the starship build menu. And this frustratingly will stop you from being able to modify your ship and will make it so that if you delete anything, you won't be able to put it back. So what you need to do is you need to exit out, go inside of your ship, and then hit Z to open the build menu, and then switch from free placement mode to snapping mode, and then go back to the starship building menu or the Corvette building kiosk, and it should have fixed it for you. If it doesn't work the first time, try it a second time. It took me quite a bit to figure this out. Like I said, I think this is probably a bug, but if you're struggling with this, now you guys know how to work around it. All right, now I did say I was gonna tell you guys about what you can do on the interior. And just like you can with your bases, with your freighter, you can design the interior of your new Corvette. And on top of that, there are some specialized modules that you can actually place that each have a special ability. So for example, you can place a mission module, which will allow you to take missions from your Corvette. And there are other items like a living wall to give you more oxygen, some habs, which I believe are just aesthetic at the moment, and storage pods to connect you with your main base storage so that you can access a wide variety of things you may have accumulated over the years. And as you expand your ship out, I imagine you just keep adding more of these cargo pods. Now, I didn't get enough time to go over all the different design options, but the specific interior I'm using right now is only one, I think of at least 4 or 5, and they're probably gonna add more. I mean, there's such an open range of what they can do with this for new DLC content. I'm sure people are gonna be really excited to get it. This personally has been maybe my number one thing that I've wanted in No Man's Sky, the ability to go inside of your ship, and on top of that, to go inside of your ship with your friends. Now you might be curious with all this, whether or not your friends can co-pilot with you or manage a weapon. Unfortunately, that's not in this update. And I don't know if this is part of the plan for the future, but I certainly hope it is, because I've been wanting to see multi-crew gameplay forever, and if they can pull that off, man, Star Citizen, you better get your stuff together, because No Man's Sky is kind of coming for your game a little bit. Another thing you might be curious about is whether or not you can dock your Corvette with your freighter, and the answer to that is yes, but it's a sort of, I don't know, development workaround maybe. It doesn't seem quite as cool as some of the other stuff they've added into this patch, and I think they probably need to go back and maybe add larger docking bays to these freighters in the future. I mean, there's just so much space on these ships that it seems strange for you to just basically float out into space and then have to teleport into your freighter. But, credit where credit's due, this update adds so much to the game that I really can't fault them for not having, these little, immersive details added on. This is something they can add in future updates. And with this coming out, I'm sure they're gonna get a lot more people excited to come back for it. Another thing I've not quite figured out yet is what the EVA system is for. Now, we can EVA now. It means we can go outside our ship and jetpack around, but if there's gonna be any gameplay associated with this, I'm not sure. Maybe we can encounter abandoned Corvettes in the future and go board them, or board other friends' ships or enemy ships. There's a lot of possibilities with this that I'm seeing that have been done in other games like Star Citizen and Starfield that they can expand into. Again, there's so much potential with where they can go with this. Not to mention that it's already realizing so much potential that I've always wanted them to realize. I don't want to, undercut what they've achieved here. This is a really cool update, and I'm super excited to pop back in right now and keep exploring what's on offer. So what do you guys think? Is this gonna get you guys back into No Man's Sky? If you guys don't know, I'm putting together a No Man's Sky new player guide, which will be coming out in the next few days, so look for that if you're looking to get into the game for the very first time. Anyway, that's it for now. Hope to see you guys in the next one.